What is going on? My name is Annalise and I talk about technology. I also discuss my own software engineering journey on this channel. So to definitely start off with, feel free to leave a like and leave your comments, any questions that you have, feel free to contact me, and subscribe to this channel if you like tech as much as I do. And my goal of this video is to allow you to make your own decision if you'd like to join the Jump By Cognixia program, or if you're phasing out of the trial period to see if you'd like to continue with the program. And there will be video stamps in the description of this video, so feel free to take some notes on this video. Feel free to come back to this video in the future if you'd like, because don't feel like you have to watch this video in one sitting. And have a good time. Grab a tub of popcorn. Alright, let's dive right in. Now, disclaimers, I will say that I will remain much more objective in this video because, one, censorship, but also because of just the ability to remain professional and the ability to create my own brand and thinking about what I want to get out of this. It's the fact that I want to help you in making this decision. And you should definitely take what I say and evaluate your situation, your own personal situation, to see if you like to do this program. And I will be discussing from my own observations, experiences, and from what other Cognixia staff has said verbally to my peers and I. And what you want to do is you definitely double check the policies, make sure there aren't any outdated ones, and comment on this video if there are any outdated policies and go from there. But let's dive right in. Nonetheless, I do respect Cognixia in its own way, and so definitely want to go in from there, but as well as just being a good goody two-shoes, just trying to be a light at the end of the tunnel. So, what is Cognixia? So when you Google or Bing search or DuckDuckGo Cognixia, you will find the official website and you can do your own research there. And what Cognixia does, it's a IT development training program for in-demand skills. And so you have different courses available in machine learning, big data, artificial intelligence, and so on and so forth. But there are specific programs that Cognixia has created, and one of them being is the Jump By Cognixia program. And with that being said, there are two main courses that the Jump By Cognixia program offers, one of them being in full stack Java, and the other one being in Python. So I will be speaking from the Python point of view because I did not take the Java class at all. And for sure, I would highly recommend just reaching out to other prospective people and just really evaluate to see if Java or Python is more for you and to see what you have more experience in. But I'll get more into that in a moment. And let's see what else. And then there's also, just know that Cognixia is often associated with other organizations, such as companies like Collabera and Ascendion. And you can just do your own research on those companies as well. Because what happened is that when I joined this program, there wasn't really a lot of information about it. I mean, you had a bunch of testimonials on YouTube and some Reddit forums, as well as some reviews on Course Report, but there's also the fact that I wanted some sort of dialogue of someone who's actually gone through the program, who can discuss everything in a less subjective manner, if you get what I'm saying. And of course, the goal of the Jump By Cognixia program is three things: to hire, to train, and to deploy. And I'll go straight in, like what's happened here. So with hiring, with the way that Cognixia, that I see that how they recruit their talent, they look for students who recently graduated with their bachelor's degree in either a STEM program, such as software development or software engineering or computer science. And then you also have the non-STEM graduates, like me, who studied a different field like history, music, business, etc. But you have a coding boot camp experience. So you've completed a coding boot camp, such as the Flatiron School or Assembly. There's a hecka ton of coding boot camps nowadays. So that's very important to complete, because they definitely don't want you to dive straight in head first into this program. They definitely want you to be able to know a little bit more basics beforehand. Then also just knowing that you are eligible to work in the United States. Duh, I should have said that like this. That's the first thing. USA, for sure. And then also just knowing that if you're someone who had little to no internship or job experience, or if you're someone who had to take care of the family, or if you have kids, like these are all things to take into account as to why you are not able to get that full-time offer straight out the back without this program. And also just keeping in mind of diversity, because there are companies who are looking for people who are minorities, or people that are who are veterans, or females, or people who are of color, etc. So there's definitely that according to the Cognixia website there. But that's the main gist of what they're looking for when they go in and see if this program is right for you straight off the bat. And so the way that I was approached was I was actually on LinkedIn, but that's mainly the main thing, that where they recruit. You see a lot of recruiters making LinkedIn posts saying, oh, look, there's a training program, then go check us out. Feel free to send the recruiters a message, and then you do so. And that's how you schedule in a call, like a 30-minute or 15-minute call. So pick a time that's best for you. And so my recruiter, let's say her name is Jessica. Now, Jessica just began contacting me and explaining to me about the program and how that's going to go about, and asking more about me and my background. And so after that, if you like, you are then given a technical exam through this software called Glider. Glider is a way for technical and coding assessments to be carried out, and the different questions that you're asked, they're mostly about Python itself and how to code and a lot of the syntax type of stuff and more of the theory behind Python. So if you have that computer science background, then you're golden. Like, you're set, you're pony boy, like, go ahead. And you should be fine with those answers. And I would just say, just know, if I had to give any advice, just know your theory behind Python and what the result of an output is. If you were given like a certain input, what would the output be? And the exam, I believe, was timed, and there might also be a camera involved where they will watch you to ensure that you're not cheating or anything scandalous like that. But the exam, I'd say, is pretty straightforward, multiple choice. You choose from 4 options, or I believe there was also true and false questions as well. So go right into it and do your best. And then afterwards, the recruiter will contact you to discuss your results. And then if they choose to proceed with you, if you pass, or if they believe that you have potential, you will then be given the soft skills test to take. And again, I believe it's through Glider, and the questions kind of surround, I won't give it away, but it's more has to do with who you are as an individual, what your goals are, as well as your story. Because if you have that personal branding aspect to who you are, then that's a really solid thing to have. But it's just knowing that you can write well. So if you can write correct grammar, sentence structure, if you have good punctuation, like, you're good to go with that. And again, it's soft skills. So if it's something, it's definitely something to think in terms of, well, what's a time when I've persisted, or when's a time that I've created a project? So you definitely want to answer in terms of the STAR method, which is like one of the common interview types of scenarios. And then after, if you do really well, then the recruiter will then contact you to schedule you for the final interview. And the final interview was just with one of the other recruiters who just spoke to you, just wanted to get to know you a little bit more on a personal level, but then also as well as give you some slides to look at to see, just to give you more information that I'm going to dive more deeply into it. But I feel like the information was just more general, but for sure it's a time that you can ask questions and a time that you can really ask yourself if you want to continue doing this. And not all the conditions are being said in that meeting, because the meeting was, for me, 30 minutes or so, but it's definitely a time where you can really evaluate to see if you want to continue. And then the questions that were asked were talking about what kind of technologies that excite me, things of that nature. Nothing too crazy, everything's super simple, and being able to explain who you are, like, what's your background. If someone were to say to you, hey, yo, what's your background? You should know how to answer. But as I continue forward, now with the second phase, it's the training. Now with the training itself, with the Python program, you train for a minimum of 10 weeks. And there will be a time when you will be out applying for jobs where Cognixia will be marketing you out to different companies, etc. But then just know that, the first 4 weeks is the trial period, and then the other 6 weeks are paid. And so what that means is that you're either paid $10 minimum or whatever your state minimum wage is, whichever is higher. So for me, I live in New York, so you just gotta see what your minimum wage is, and they'll match it for you. It's just what the state is, not just really what the city is. So if you were to just look at the overall state minimum, that's what it is, not specifically where you live or where you're resided. So just keep that in mind. And then in terms of the Python program, so you're put into a class of, let's say, 30 or 31 students. Or I shouldn't call them students really anymore. Participants. Yeah, there we go. And I just wanted to say that some of the Python technical skills that are being covered within the course of 10 weeks is Python scripting and programming, Numpy and Pandas, SQL, SQLite, and SQL Alchemy, REST, Linux, Unix, Git, Agile, Matplotlib, Seaborn, Tableau, Hadoop, PySpark, machine learning, AWS, and then you'll have a bunch of time for your projects and capstone projects. So there's that. And just know that there's also going to be soft skill training. So I'm going to dive more into that. So you'll go over a bunch of digital branding, which means how you're going to present yourself online to other people that will work with you, or things of that nature, and how to optimize your LinkedIn and who you are as a person, just knowing who you are, things of that nature. And then the second objective is with remote working. So with that being said, that has to do with being able to work online and knowing how to succeed in that environment. And then the digital mindset, which is the ability to hone in on your emotional intelligence skills and being able to learn more about what the digital mindset is. So that's just a training curriculum that Cognixia offers, And the main mindset components are, for example, adaptability, exploration, collaboration, current events, and what your 5-year plan is, things of that nature. So it's being able to focus more on your soft skills, and you will be tested on it. So that means that you will have a prompt and you have to answer that prompt, and you have to record yourself doing a scenario or doing the assignment, and you have to turn it in every week. But I'll go more into detail later on in this video. But that is the gist of the technical and soft skills that will be covered within Python. And I would say that for sure, going in, just know that if you think about it, 10 weeks, how much could really be covered in those 10 weeks? So you want to make sure that you're doing your part and doing your work. So it will be an intensive, because even Cognixia themselves, they even admit this is a hyper-intensive course. So things will go fast. And now the third step is the deploy stage. And that's where Cognixia markets you to other Fortune 500 companies. And you will be paid a minimum of $50,000. And now it depends on where you will be working in or what state you're working in. So if you're working in a state like California, I believe that in more Silicon Valley, they try to get you in more at $60,000 minimum. And I understand that's not too much, but they try your best in terms of negotiating how much you can get paid. But other states, depends on the area too, in the city, but states like Virginia, $50,000, and so on and so forth. It just depends. Like in New York, but you're unlikely to be placed in New York in terms of Python, in terms of like the demand now, but it's a minimum of like $60,000. But like I said, like they're definitely upfront with that minimum of $50,000. And, you know, so you'll stay working at the company that you work at. So let's say you work at IBM or T-Mobile, AT&T, so on and so forth. So whatever's going on there, you definitely have that going for you. So you can just look up a list of the Fortune 500 companies and go from there in terms of if you want to continue. But so you stay working at this company for 2 years as a contractor, but then after a year in, you're able to negotiate for a raise. But the raise is for a larger amount, but it's more than a minuscule amount. So if you start out at $50,000, the negotiation will be for example, $55,000. It just depends on your situation. And you have the opportunity to be converted into a full-time employee or to part ways after the 2-year contract. And with your recruiter, you will be remaining in touch with them, as well as being matched with a technical mentor during this time when you're working at this company. And so what I will be referring to these companies, I will be calling them clients because that's what Cognixia says. But with the client, the chance of you going remote, so from what I've been told from the account executive, the account executive, it's been said that there's 40% remote opportunities, but then there's also 60% in-person opportunities. So you really want to think about that in terms of being able to recognize your working style and going from there. But in terms of the class structure, you have technical trainings, group projects, homework exercises, live application activities, and then review of the different assessments and tests, and a certification type of curriculum, and then also other different types of things going on, like online access to different tools and so on and so forth. So with the class schedule itself, I would say that got it. I got my notes. But with that being said, with the class schedule, it's between 10 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Mondays to Fridays, and you get 2 15-minute breaks. The first break is at 11:30 a.m. EST. The second one is at 3:30 p.m. EST. And then you have a 1-hour lunch break at 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. EST. And just know that the schedule, they try to remain on schedule, but usually on Fridays you have like a self-paced study. Hold on, I'm dying. I need a cough drop. I've been kind of sick for the past couple of weeks, so that is really interesting. Just ignore the coughing. But there will be also office hours, which tends to be at 5 o'clock when class ends. But you do need to know more about... Let me back up here, because the group projects take place, of course, with at least like, when I started out, when the class was larger, it was like 3 people in a group or 4 people in a group. And then homework takes place in terms of Google Forms, being able to answer multiple choice questions and things of that nature. But yeah, that's everything pretty much there and what to expect. The exercises are, you get a prompt or a problem and just being able to write your code there. But all I gotta say is that you can always just go into the trial phase and see for yourself about everything. But with the evaluation of how you will be evaluated, so you will get an instructor and everything will be on Zoom. And the important thing is to show up. So the Zoom will be open. You can just join. The recommendation is that you show up early just so you can get yourself ready, get your mind ready and your VS Code ready. And so attendance will be taken. So you want to definitely be either early or on time. Participation, that's a huge key. It's just making sure that you put yourself out there. And that goes with like anything that you do. But definitely asking questions. But I'll definitely go more into that later on. And then you have different assignments that you complete. So you definitely need to submit them and do the best that you can. You don't need to necessarily finish your assignments, but definitely maybe include things that you would complete if you did have more time. Definitely put your best foot forward there. And then, of course, projects as well. And try your best with that as well. And then, of course, there will be technical and soft skills interviews that will be covered. So that's where you'll be asked a bunch of theory-based or technical questions or questions about your background. So definitely want to know your Python for sure and know the technology in and out. And also in terms of how you're behaving, how your mannerisms are during this time. Are you dressing well? You don't have to necessarily dress in a suit. You don't have to be dapper, but definitely dress as you would to business casual, at least at minimum. You don't need to wear a tie, or at least wear a collar shirt or a blouse or something that is presentable, because there will be people that sit in on the meeting that could be someone from the 400, 500 company, like a client, or someone else from the Cognixia space. But it's just knowing that, are you being respectful? Are you not talking back? Oh my gosh. Or are you just making sure that you're not disruptive? And are you asking questions in a short form manner? Other things like that. And making sure that you're not eating, that you're not muting yourself accidentally and then saying something. Things of that nature. So just be sure of that. And then now I'll just go more into the contractual obligations. Now, after those 10 weeks, you will definitely be interviewing prep, everything, so you can get an offer. But if Cognixia does not place you within 180 days, then you're let go from the contract. So you are expected to work on site for 2 years without breaking any conditions that is listed in the contract. So, but just know that you just gotta do your work and you gotta perform and you need to do your part and try to build your reputation from there. But it's also knowing that you will get time off based on Cognixia's calendar as a contractor. So just know that for example, on Martin Luther King Jr. Day or on Thanksgiving, you will have time off and you will get those days off. And Cognixia definitely has a policy on overtime. You will not be expected to do a lot of overtime, but every once in a while you may have to, but you do need to talk with your team lead and see if overtime is possible, but they definitely try not to give you that overtime. But if you do, then the pay, I would say it's definitely on a person by person basis in terms of what happens there. But you should hopefully be compensated. I would definitely hope that's the case. But, and just so you know that you do get at least, the client tries to give you at least 1 month to secure yourself in terms of if you have to move or not. So I do want to go more into the moving aspects, and if the location is over 50 miles, then you get a $1,500 travel reimbursement. So that includes a plane ticket or a moving truck or gas or an Uber. So that should help you in terms of if you have to move or not. But if you are under those 50 miles, and you won't qualify, and if you're fully remote, then that won't qualify to give you that $1,500. But then also there are certain things that the travel reimbursement does not qualify you for any of that. So in terms of, let's say, for a down payment on an apartment, they won't give you that. Just think of the $1,500 travel reimbursement. It's just a way for you to get from point A to point B. Just think of it like that. And the whole thing with moonlighting does not allow you to moonlight. So no moonlighting, no overemployment, no multiple side hustles at the same time. But what you can do is that you can have other forms of income as long as it does not use the client's resources, or if you have a personal side project, use your own personal computer rather than the company's computer. And then also you can work at a restaurant, you could drive for Uber, things of that nature. So that does not limit you. Just make sure that you get your recruiter's permission for sure before starting anything, and go from there. But, it's important that you just don't do anything illegal. Be a good person, be a good citizen. So no sharing private information, no stealing physical items in the office, etc. and so forth. So if you were to leave after signing the contract, hold on, I just need to get a cough drop. Oh my god. Okay. So okay. 6 to 24 months in. Oh my god. Hold on. Okay. You will then owe $25,000 if you breach the contract. And then if it's 1 day to 6 months, then it's $15,000. But then as soon as it hits 0 days, you owe $0. So I know that information is huge for a lot of people, but just know that $25,000, just think of that amount starting out. That is what will be owed, because the contract is seen more as a loan agreement. So definitely lawyer up if you need to, and go over the contract with your family and friends to see if that's suited for you and in your situation. But I do want to go over some other agreement FAQs that these are some questions that I had going through the program and other peers of mine were wondering about. So how is your job title determined? So in the Python field, there are many different types of fields that are expected that you can even... It depends on also your background and how well you can code as well. But then also the demand of the client at the time, and also timing itself. So it's just ensuring that when you do get these interview emails, that you check your email as soon as possible to see if you want to apply or not. But in terms of job title, it could be for a Python developer, it could be for a data analyst, or it could be for a data engineer. Data engineers are of course for stronger programmers, let's be honest. So just think about it like that, and there is no one job title that is applicable, because it's applicable for many. So there's that. It just depends on your skill set as well. But what happens if you get let go during your contract period? Well, you will then be put into the marketing mode again. You will definitely be interviewing for other positions, and you will get back in there. Now, I do want to emphasize that I don't know the information if the contract starts over at 2 years or if they just pick up where you're left off with the remaining time you have. Definitely check in with that question to a Cognixia representative. But next question is what happens if the work is abusive in any nature, whether that's emotional, verbal, physical, or if you're the guy fetching coffee for your team. It's important that the harassment, bullying, or mistreatment has some sort of proof to it, making sure that you have meetings with your advisor or manager and ensuring that you send emails with proof of that and the responses for that proof, and scheduling meetings with Cognixia and making sure that you contact HR. See, those are steps that are important, and hopefully those issues are resolved and to go from there. Because it's important that you know your rights and you know your freedoms within this, so I completely understand this question. And can you continue interviewing with other clients if you got an offer? The way that it goes is you will get emails based on the type of jobs that you want to have. So let's say if you want to be a data engineer, you will most likely get data engineer emails. So it's very important that you open up these emails and say, I'm interested. So if you go in and interview with this client, and if they say yes, you will most likely need to take this offer and say yes. But I believe there are some sort of like time period where you can see if you get another offer, but it's definitely by a case-by-case basis, because that question was answered verbally, and you definitely need to make sure that is something that, I don't know, definitely ask someone else, because if you are waiting for another offer and to see if you can choose between like two clients, it depends on timing, and it also depends on how much time you get, because when you get an offer, you usually only have 48 hours maximum to give them a decision. You don't have a full week to give them an answer, and you definitely need to say yes. When you hit yes to saying that you want to interview with this company, just already assume that you're locked in, and assume that if you were to get an offer, this is something that you imagine working for. So definitely look through the description and look through everything and look through the job descriptions, the responsibilities, and make sure that it's in the work setting that you like, in terms of state, in terms of remote versus in person. And how does time off work? So as long as it's according to the contract, it was worded strangely, but this is just in my own words, but it's important that every 12 months that the time period off, it's not more than 20 days. And then also just keeping in mind that you will get time off when it comes to Thanksgiving and other holidays like that, and Veterans Day, so on and so forth. And then health benefits. You can get health benefits. It will shave off some of what you make off of your paycheck, but just know that is an option, or just get your own. So that's the situation, but health benefits, time off, I completely understand what that means. And yeah, so with the different decision factors I just wanted to go over, it's just really understanding ask yourself this, if you're able to perform to Cognicia's and the client's company standards. But as my recruiter said, it's not just technical skills, it's also the soft skills that you have going on for you. So it's 51% of your technical skills, but 49% of your soft skills. So think of it in terms of that. But then also just knowing your willingness to relocate states and that whole process. Thinking about your family and friends. Thinking about if you're willing to leave your current position, whatever you're doing. And those are the top 4 decision factors, I'd say, but that has to be it. I mean, you have to think about it like this. Doctors start off not being paid well, but think about this as a springboard. If you're someone with little to no experience, if you're someone who's like, think about it. But just think about if you can get your foot in the door. I mean, even if you're someone who has referrals, who applied to other positions but didn't get it, like, think about it like this. You are able to get interviewed by all these reputable clients. I wouldn't say, I mean, there are so many, like, companies. I mean, just imagine the Amazons of the world, I know there's Capital Ones of the world. Think of it like that. But in terms of the actual companies themselves, I would say that, like, especially with Apple and, like, the Disneys of the world, they're very competitive. So the likelihood of there to be an opening is unlikely. So you do need to have that realistic mindset going in terms of the competitiveness. But let's be honest. Okay, so now I'm going to go into the tips to succeed section, which is the last section of this video. So just dive in knowing that the entire course is competitive. You will be versing your own peers in terms of getting these roles. You will be interviewing, quote unquote, against these other people that you will get close with over these couple of weeks. And it's important that just know that your recruiter will be getting a little snippet of your performance every week, and just know that the instructor or instructors, there may be more than one, will be evaluating you based off of, one, your participation. So it's important that not professor, oh my gosh, this ain't college, I gotta get out of the college university mode, but if the instructor asks a question, or if they say something, feel free to use the Zoom signals. Feel free to use the hands up, raise your hand, raise your paw, or anything like that. Or if they ask you a yes or no question, you answer with yes or no with the Zoom buttons, because that's very important, and that will show that the instructor that you care and stuff. And then it's important that you ask questions. Now, ask the questions in a succinct and concise manner as much as possible, and just be able to be open to criticism, be able to change the way you do something, and just be open-minded of that. And then it's also important to volunteer to answer questions. So when we go over for example, the quizzes that we have, the multiple choice quizzes, you raise your hand and say, oh, it's this answer because blank, 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 blank. So be able to have a rationale for your answers, but also just be helpful to other people in terms of your instructor or in terms of your peers. And then just volunteer to show your code. I know that there's a bunch of exercises, a bunch of projects that will be shown. So definitely do that. Be able to give a rationale for your code as well as you walk through it. And it's also important, number 2, to reread the paperwork that you will be presented with. Now, not everyone will be guaranteed this contract, but if you do well, then you're golden and you have that decision to make. But not everyone makes it, for sure. It's a intensive, like I said, hyper-intensive program, and reread the paperwork front and back several times with everyone involved in your life, and make sure you understand everything. The account executive will be taking the entire morning, like, let's say a minimum of 3 hours, to go over each and every line of the contract. And what you want to do is just ensure that you talk as much as possible during that time when the account executive is going over the contract. Just make sure you say, hey, I'm so-and-so, I'm Bob, and here's my question. And just ask the account executive a question. Make sure you attend office hours. I know it's after 5 o'clock, but you got to do what you got to do. And that could be time to ask a question or time to show the instructor your code, so on and so forth. Really dive deep and get to know your instructor. The second to final point, I would say, it's just to do the extra assignments. There will be assignments that are optional, but that are recommended. So you definitely want to go through those if you can, to see if you can do it. Because a lot of the exercises, they do build off of each other, and they do get more and more harder. So you definitely want to test to see if you know a concept or not. And there's a reason for the assignment. Usually it's because of a case study or because you might do this on the job. But it's hard to say. All the companies are different. All the clients are different. So it's challenging to know if the exact thing that you'll be doing will be in the day-to-day job. But do it and submit. Actually email or message the instructor on Slack and go from there. But also, it's important, the last step is to network and make friends. Now, with making friends with your peers, you will be with them for 30 hours every Monday to Friday. So definitely get comfortable and make friends with them. People are generally nice, so feel free to add them on LinkedIn and go from there and laugh with them. Enjoy your time, because this is your time. This is your period to shine. But then also the other point I want to say was network. If you need to talk with someone who's been through the program, 100% network. There were people that made it through the entire Jump By Cognixia program, but there are people that are currently within the different phases of the program. So what you want to do, go on LinkedIn right now and make sure, if you don't have an account, make one. But what you want to do is you type in Jump By Cognixia or type in Cognixia, and anyone with a Python developer title, or anyone with a data engineer title, or anyone with a Java developer title, that you connect with them and you send a note saying, hey, I'm a prospective participant in the Jump By Cognixia program, and I'd like to see if this program's for me, and go from there and see if it's really for you. And if it's... And listen to what they have to say, because everyone had their own... They will probably give you their own personal background or their own positive or negative experiences, but go from there. And just think about the prestige of the different clients that are on the 500 Fortune company list. But that goes with everything that I have to say. I have to say that just go from there, because I know that there were previous policies that were changed. There used to be a time when participants had to pay $100 trial fee, but then that's eliminated. And then also, there used to be some trainings that used to be in person, but now some of them are offered on Zoom. I know that for sure with my training it was completely on Zoom, but definitely hear these other people's testimonies and their stories. And wow, I made it through the entire notes on my Google Docs. So yay! All right, ayo. But also, I did want to go more into maybe the course content, or we'll see. I mean, like I said, in the course content itself, it was the content on the slides that you will get. It's based off of maybe questions that you might be asked in a technical interview, or it's there for a reason. So the materials are made with intention, as we've been told by the instructor, but it's important that you get a gist. But if you're also, with another tip to succeed, I just remembered, bonus tip, really get comfortable with all of these different things I'm about to say. So with the Python programming and scripting, be competent in doing all of this. If you're given a prompt or a problem, be sure to build something out that has to do with basic programming. So that starts out with like data types flow control, operators, loops, and conditionals, iterators, data structures. I'm just reading off the list. Lists, sets, tuples, dictionaries, regular expressions, dates, standard libraries, pip and module management, exceptions and error handling, file handling and OS operations, unit testing, classes and objects, inheritance and composition, functions, functional programming, lambdas, decorators, and just as well, just so you know, just know the history of Python and install it on your computer. Have at least the version 3.7 or newer on your computer. Sorry. Oh my god. Apologies. And then having an interpreter, things of that nature. But with NumPy, also it's, just an introduction of NumPy, knowing the difference between arrays and lists, and going into NumPy data types and assessing array elements. With Pandas, it's introductory stuff, as well as knowing the Pandas data types, series index, modifying series, Pandas data frames, creating data frames, data frame indexes, accessing data frame columns, accessing data frame rows, .loc versus .iloc, modifying data frames, merging data frames, complex data selection, creating data frames from external data, data cleaning, SQL, introduction to databases, ER model, relationships, one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-many, SQL data types and constraints, data definition language, DML, DCL, DQL, DRL, subqueries, joins, stored functions, and then you want to go into more Python and SQL. So SQLite 3 packaging, SQLite syntax, object relational mapper, SQL alchemy models, SQL alchemy sessions. And then you will be learning REST. So it's knowing what an API is, HTTP basics and the overview of it, requests and responses, status codes, REST characteristics, JSON and XML, and then with Postman, being able to test APIs on there, but then also Git, the introductory of it, the workflow, the branching and merging, remotes, commands, GitHub, merge conflicts, squashing commits, and best practices to use Git. And then with Unix, it's the introduction to the OS, the shell, the file structure, basic commands and syntax, users and permission, bash scripting, agile, project management, and waterfall project management, agile, the approach and mindset of it, the agile methodology, Scrum, UML, Splunk, and Matplotlib, plotting with Matplotlib, line charts, bar charts, pie charts, scatter plots, intro to statistics, Seaborn, the introduction of it, built-in datasets, histograms, box plots, pair plots, heat maps, multi-plot grids, Tableau, intro to Tableau, panes, row and column, manipulation, data management, worksheets, workbooks, and repositories, and data visualization, and Hadoop, introduction to the Hadoop ecosystem, MapReduce, Yarn, HDFS, Ozone, Hadoop Common. Then you have PySpark, introduction to Spark itself, Spark Core, Spark SQL, PySpark RDDS, datasets, data frames, data cleaning, a lot of data. Python SQL integrations, user-defined functions, machine learning. You only learn it for 2 days, about as an estimate, but linear and polynomial regression models, key components of models, neural networks and deep learning, supervised and unsupervised learning, reinforcement learning, applying models and use cases. Then you have AWS, which is the introduction to the AWS cloud. You will be able to get a voucher from Cognixia to take the actual AWS exam, but it's important that you will get introduced, to the learning path and the core principles. Then you have VPC, EC2, RDS, DynamoDB, S3, ECS, CI and CD using Jenkins with AWS, and you'll get a essential course kit to prepare to take your exam. And that's pretty much the gist. But definitely, you don't have to know everything, but I have to say, definitely be competent in coding and be competent in, you don't have to necessarily know Python, but at least be able to, I mean, as they say, be competent in one language and you should be able to pick up another language, but at least be competent in one language. But if possible, definitely hone in on the Python stuff. And I believe the rest can be pretty much taught, or at least, as I said, I listed the whole entire list, so definitely dive into your resources with that. But I do want to give a huge thank you. Feel free to subscribe and like this video and comment your thoughts. But I hope you have a great rest of your day and stay awesome. And let's definitely keep in touch. Feel free to contact me and we can go from there. And all right, peace out, Cub Scout. Have a good one.